It is Wednesday night, so you know what that means. You're hanging with Wrestling Inc. on the post AEW Dynamite podcast. And boy, do we have some stuff to spit around. Thanks everybody for your patience. It is 10:25 here on the East Coast. Of course, Dynamite notably going an extra 15 minutes long. So, we're usually on the air about 10 minutes after Dynamite's off the air, so it's all good. So apologies that the time was not updated though on the YouTube video. For those of you just so antsy and waiting for me, Justin LaBar here in Pittsburgh, down south in Puerto Rico. She is the Demon Diva Issa, and up north in Toronto, home of next week's Dynamite, it is former WWE ref Jimmy Korderas. Issa, ladies first, how are you tonight?
It's such an interesting night. I can't wait to get into it with you guys and hear your opinions on some of the things. But doing good. Drinking. I've been drinking. It's the only way to manage AEW lately.
Yeah, and full disclosure for everybody, like once we all were ready to go. I mean, we said our hello pleasantries, and we just said let's just save it for the people. So we have no rehearsal. I don't know what either of these two think, so that's gonna make it all the more fun. Jimmy, how are you on this Wednesday?
Yeah, I'm doing good. It was a good day here in Toronto, like you said, home of Dynamite next week, and it's going to be interesting to see how the Canadian crowd reacts to their first venture up north.
It'll be interesting to see who's in the building, who gets sent home between now and then, who does what between now and then.
Well, just to curb any rumors, I'm not going to be there next week. I will be here with you guys, and I don't want to show up and get sent home.
Definitely use you.
They could use a referee both in the ring and backstage. I think you could just apply as HR expert.
Yes,
you know what? I don't want to deal with that stuff. Trust me.
Where's Jim Ross when you need him? JR put up with so much crap being ahead of talent relations for so many years. Where is JR consulting Tony Khan when needed?
Yeah, no kidding. Or even on commentary where he.
Listen, based on the ending of tonight's episode, nobody's consulting Tony Khan. He's just doing what he wants.
Thanks, Allison Tuckwab, kicking it off in the super chats with $1. Appreciate that. Of course, you can always.
There was one earlier too, by the way.
Oh, was there?
Before we went on the air. Mm-hmm.
Oh, before. Oh, geez. Wow.
Yeah. Listen, people were waiting for us. Okay.
Oh, here we go. We'll just start it off right now. Ryan Ramirez. I hated this Dynamite. It was a terrible anniversary. Ryan, we'll get into the Ring of Honor. I mean, AEW anniversary. We'll get to it here shortly. But before we do, we like to let people still filter in, and we always like to touch on a few news items first before we get into news headlines. Just kind of a day in history. This is one of the ones I enjoy for most of the reasons. There's obviously one sad, but 25 years ago today, in 1997, big day in the world of WWE and pro wrestling. This was the debut. It was the Bad Blood in Your House show, which featured the debut of the Hell in a Cell match, and arguably one of the best Hell in a Cell matches ever between Shawn and Taker. Debut of the character Kane, iconic character. Also a sad day, those that we started that pay-per-view, getting the announcement from Vince McMahon that Brian Pillman Sr. had been had tragically passed away. So just a very that's three things 25 years later that are still a huge deal. So just a moment of memory, Jimmy. And you've worked so many shows, you don't got to have stories, but of course you were on that show 25 years. Where's the time go?
I know, it's unbelievable. I mean, I was there that night. I was in St. Louis. It was a great night. That's gotta be Kane. That's, Vince there's just one Vince when it comes to doing stuff like that. It's incredible how he gets that over. And it was definitely an interesting night, but thank goodness you didn't ask me which match I worked that night, because it's like here, I can remember the words to every 80s song on the radio, but I can't remember why I went down to the kitchen. You know what I mean?
I know how that feels.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and jump in to some news. We'll do the one piece of WWE side first, and then we will be all AEW from that point on. This just being the NXT numbers. NXT, of course, last night they've reverted back to the black and gold brand, but unfortunately, that NXT New Era sees the lowest key demo rating in months. WrestleNomics noting that the viewership for Tuesday, October 4th episode of NXT had an average of 625,000 viewers. That's down 5%, and the lowest for the program since August. The key demo even worse, as NXT had 170,000 viewers aged 18 to 49, meaning it had a 0.13 in the 18 to 49 rating. That's the lowest number since July 23rd. I have not watched the show yet. If I'm not podcasting, I don't watch shows live. I'll go back later. Issa, I haven't watched it yet. You were podcasting.
Yes.
Give me a reaction. Are you surprised by these numbers?
I'm not. I felt like last night was the most NXT 2.0 episode that we have seen, and we were expecting a rebrand. However, I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt just because of the hurricane and people not being able to make it, or maybe some of the changes they were wanting to do couldn't go through, like set changes or whatever. But I gotta tell you, last night's NXT felt very 2.0. Nothing felt different outside of the paint splatter being gone from the logo. And unfortunately, you're not going to keep. They didn't do anything on the show to keep viewers. Like, if people were turning the channel, I do not blame them. The best thing to come out of last night's podcast is that Brian Saxton is Alfred's daddy.
Jimmy. Jimmy. I mean, is this just natural transition of Triple H and Shawn Michaels undoing maybe things that were done in the past? They're trying to just position things to get it in line for whatever vision they want of NXT again, or do you have any takeaway for this?
I think so. I think that's definitely has a lot to do with it. They want to put their vision, kind of take it back, but you can't take it. You can't do a complete 180 overnight. It's the transition is going to take time, and of course we saw it with the set change and that sort of stuff. It's going to take time to transition the talent too as well. And like you, Justin, I haven't seen NXT yet. I will get a chance to watch it. Maybe I don't think it'll be tonight. It'll be sometime tomorrow. But it's tough too. And I know a lot of people put stock into ratings, but this time of year with the baseball playoffs coming up and everybody jockeying for position and stuff
Let's go Yankees.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I thought we were friends, Issa. Anyways.
Not when it comes to October. Maybe not in October, Jimmy.
Yeah,
we can resume our friendship after.
Okay, but let's go Blue Jays. But what can I say? Anyways. So there's a lot of factors that go into it So for me, I'm not a ratings guy, even though I do pay attention to them. I just numbers.
I feel like content is consumed so differently nowadays that when I see all these people post these ratings, I'm like, why do we still care? Like, a lot of people are going back watching on a DVR. Some of us are watching the clips that they post because we just want a short version of it. People are watching it on Hulu because it's a shorter version of it. Like, why do we still care about the ratings so much? I think it's for the advertising purposes, but it's not our money that's coming out of pocket for that.
Well, Issa, I think that's a fair point, and I've even used parts of that point before, but I think the still relevance is, yes, we can all agree. Like I just said, I didn't watch live, but I will go and I'll find the most attractive YouTube clips and I'll try to catch the best ofs. But I think if we all agree that's universally the case of we all have other means to watch it, DVR, YouTube, Twitter timeline, it's still relevant then just still to see. It's still relevant to say, okay, well, still based upon these viewership and demo, this was a poor or a discarded show overall, or it didn't have enough to make somebody like me. There wasn't anything on the show to make somebody like me have to make a point to watch it live, even though I didn't need to because I wasn't podcasting. So I mean, I think what I mean is, if it did 600,
625.
If it did thank you. If it did 625,000 viewers, there might have been another 625,000 that are going to see things from all the ways we just said, but it's still relevant to say that that's 625 compared to when they were in the 800s. It's still relevant to say that it was on the lower end of the scale and something about it did not connect and did not.
Yeah, but while I agree with you on that aspect, it's like I felt like Monday Night Raw was decent, was an enjoyable, a fun watch, and there was football. It didn't do well in the ratings, but it's not a show that I wouldn't tell you, you shouldn't go back and watch it at all. There was some solid points on Monday Night Raw. So, while I get it, how it did with people, I can't base whether I'm going to watch the show or not based on a rating that I see online, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep an eye. I'm very interested.
Don't go back and watch NXT. Don't watch the main event. The main event was good.
Okay.
Well, I'm very interested to see what next Tuesday brings about and how the ratings are and what we get of NXT as things are moving so fast in Stanford and Orlando. Okay, let's jump over from Stanford and Orlando to Jacksonville to AEW. And let me just say this, folks. If you have not been on social media or if you have not been on wrestling websites, you are probably a little lost as to what is happening right now.
Oh my God. You know that I started my watch along and I didn't have time to get on social media before it.
Mm-hmm.
So I sit down and I'm like welcoming people and I'm like, oh, I wish the Andrade match was tonight. And my chat is like, that match was canceled. So I literally found out as I was live on the air because I stayed off Twitter for an hour and a half and everything fell apart during that 1 hour. How did that happen?
We got some super chats already, guys. We'll get to them in a few moments once we get the facts out for everybody. So I'm going to go in order here. So yesterday, things kind of got real hairy as Sammy Guevara and Andrade El Idolo going back and forth on Twitter. I'm not going to recite every tweet. It's all on Wrestling Inc. It's all on Twitter. Basically, just the two beefing back and forth. You know, Sammy, F you, just go back to WWE like we all know you want to. Andrade, apparently you have a problem, and I'll address you. I'll see you on Wednesday in DC. Just very clear back and forth of issues that this is not a storyline. So then we get to Tony Khan on Busted Open, and he kind of addresses this a little bit. Tony's a regular on Busted Open. He's always putting over what's going on. So he says, quote, "We've seen on September 7th that the Dark Order, of course, number 10, Hangman, all those guys recently, they've been approached by Jose's, how do you pronounce the faction? He said, you don't know the word, the Facion.
What are you trying to say? No, I want you to
the
say
name of the name of the group that Jose has. He's got Roosh and Private Party. Well, whatever.
Oh, I don't know the name.
I'm reading it, but I don't know how to read it and say it because I can't. No. Recently been approached by said faction. Hangman versus Roosh. It also directly.
Oh, Los Ingobernables. Got it.
Okay.
There we go. You're the one that speaks Spanish on here, and I'm trying to do the Spanish. Help me out here. All right, so continuing the quote. Hangman versus Roosh. It also directly ties to something that's going to be happening Friday. Andrade El Idolo versus number 10 Vance, and that situation has escalated really quickly, as has Andrade's heat around the office and locker room, so much that if Andrade loses the match, he will lose AEW forever. So Tony trying to walk a line of reality with the why all of a sudden Andrade is putting his career in AEW on the line. So that kind of is like half in storyline on Busted Open. Then fast forward a few more hours. This coming from Fightful Select. TMZ's also jumped in, but we'll go with Fightful Select. I think they were the first to have the most of these details. Andrade and Sammy both show up to DC to Dynamite as all parties plan to do, and what do you know? It didn't go well.
Of course it didn't. Of course it did.
Like nobody could figure out how to keep these two on separate parts of the building, but we'll get into that in a second. Another backstage altercation takes place in all Elite Wrestling. Sources familiar with the situation claim that on the October 5th AEW Dynamite show, there was an altercation between Andrade and Sammy Guevara. Again, this is from Fightful Select. The two had taken shots at each other in interviews and on social media throughout the week, and it came to a head at the tapings. Andrade was removed from a scheduled mask versus career match against Dark Order's 10, with the latter remaining on Rampage schedule in another match. Those that Fightful Select spoke to said there was some kind of verbal altercation that got physical, with Sammy shoving Andrade and Andrade throwing a punch. Not sure if the punch actually connected, but Fightful Select is told it was not part of some grandiose work. At least one and possibly both wrestlers were removed from the tapings and sent home. We, of course, know Sammy was not. Get back to that later. TMZ has confirmed this report. Andrade then posted, "Respect me and I'll respect you" on social media shortly after. So much to unpack. Jimmy, you've, of course, seen this happens, but this is in a bad 2 months of AEW with, of course, the brawl after All Out, CM Punk's thing. Sammy and Eddie Kingston apparently had an altercation within the last month. What do you make of this?
This is getting absolutely out of hand. I mean, like back in the day, obviously I had been witness to a lot of backstage incidents, let's put it that way. But back in the day, there wasn't social media for guys to go out there and put it out there. The guys respected the locker room enough and that curtain, that fourth wall, not to let the outside world in to what is going on behind the scenes. If guys had a gripe with each other, they had a gripe with each other, and it was settled. I don't want to say privately, but it was settled in a way that didn't leak out to the public so much. Now, if there's an issue, it seems like everybody wants to go on their Twitter and on their social media and put it out there and take shots at this guy and take shots at that guy just because they don't like him or whatever the reason may be. And that's the biggest thing. And the problem I have here is that those in charge in AEW are not sitting down and saying, hey, this is what we want to do. And, we want the business, we want our company to move forward, as I do. I would love to see AEW move forward and grow. Mm-hmm. But the boss has to be the boss. Yes, you can show your talent respect. Yes, you can have an open door policy, but it's more important to be a boss, to be their boss, than to be their friend. And it seems like, and I don't know Tony, I can't speak for him, but it seems like he's more interested in being their friend as opposed to being the boss and saying, hey, look, I get it. You send certain people home, you suspend others, but at the same time, you got to be a hard ass when you need to be a hard ass.
Issa. So as we will then know, as we get into Dynamite here, Sammy Guevara is in the main event of Dynamite tonight. So he clearly does not get sent home.
That's the worst decision. That was the worst
they
decision
stop in the live promotions. There was one package they tossed to on tape at the beginning of Dynamite to promote Rampage, where the Andrade match was still promoted. But then everything after that, everything they did live throughout the rest of the night, no mention of Andrade's match. So it seems clear Andrade's been sent home. And what signal does that send to you?
Favoritism. You handle the CM Punk and the Elite situation pretty evenly, right? Regardless of CM Punk was the person that might have started this brawl, like with his comments. I don't know that Andrade started it. Maybe what he said in the interview about, maybe he hit Sammy too hard and Sammy didn't like it and he said anything. And Jimmy's talking about old school wrestling. We just saw Roman Reigns in the Impulsive podcast. When Logan Paul asked him, what happens when somebody hits you too hard? Roman's response was, you hit back harder, you get your receipt, and you continue, right? Like, you don't make a big deal about it, but it seems like Sammy made a big deal about it. What really bothered me out of this thing, the social media back and forward, was the comments that Sammy made, calling him a favor hire. Like, I if I'm running this company, I wouldn't like those comments regardless of what it is.
And the only reason you were hired is because your father-in-law.
Yeah, I just felt that was so out of line, regardless of what it is that Andrade said on this interview. I didn't like those comments from Sammy. So in my opinion, it's like I'm already having a conversation with Sammy. But the funniest part of all of this was the tweet that came, I think it was from Dave Meltzer, who tweeted, did nobody figure out how to keep these two away from each other? Like, we all saw it play out on social media. I'm sorry, Andrade is about that life. When he sent out that tweet, I'll see you Wednesday, I was like, somebody keep Sammy Guevara far away from this man on Wednesday. Like, how do you let them interact? Listen, I don't want to turn into a conspiracy here, but why did Andrade just walk in and punch him just to get in trouble? I don't know, because he's also kind of been tweeting some weird things about not being happy there. But overall, I think you should have been fair, and both of these guys should have been sent home and maybe wait for the situation to cool down before you handle disciplinary actions. But I didn't like that Sammy got to stay and wrestle, because I do think he was just as guilty in the situation as Andrade was.
Yeah, I mean, unless there's more to it that we don't know, unless something out more than what I just recounted from Fightful Select that Tony knows, unless there's something that's like, okay, Andrade, you were clearly in the wrong with however the altercation.
Yeah, apparently Sammy probably got Tony very drunk at his wedding, and he probably got some secret video that he's storing him with, because like, how do you not treat this situation the same way?
Well, yeah, I mean,
CM Punk said all of those things, and at the end of the day, everybody involved got suspended, got sent home. Why does Sammy get to stay? It doesn't make any sense.
Send them both, and look, as obvious you had Jake Hager there, you have other people from JS. Somebody else can fill the spot of Jericho's tag partner. It's not like it was crucial for Sammy to be out there. This is just, and again, and we'll get to super chats here in a second, guys. And this, I think Jimmy started. You can't even say, "Oh, this is the damn locker room leaking stuff to the dirt sheets." These two guys went on Twitter and put each other on blast. They decided just to go ahead and leak it themselves. So
it's getting so tiring. Go ahead, Jimmy.
No, I'm sorry. It's just, this is the problem when yes, there are some veterans in that locker room, but who is the locker room leader? Like I'll give you an example. Back when we were there, Taker was our guy. Taker was the locker room leader. So if there was an issue, you went to him first. Do you know what I mean? And say, hey, how do I
Taker
handle
is my leader. I'm not having an issue. I don't want to go in front of Undertaker.
Exactly.
I'll figure it out.
But, you know, and as talented as and veterans that they have, like a Jericho, like Mark Henry, who's there now, and all the agents and producers that they have back there with all that stuff, is there somebody back there that the talent could go to and say, hey, this is what's going on. How do we get this to stop? Can we have a sit down, a get together? Nobody does that anymore. Right away, you got to pick this darn thing up and you start tweeting and you start putting,
Jimmy, it kind of feels like, we heard after, it kind of feels like after the All Out Brawl and everything that, we heard that Moxley and Bryan and Jericho. That, these veterans, these guys that have been around for a long time. They've been at WrestleMania. They've been to the top of the mountain, right? They supposedly kind of stepped in and said, all right, guys and girls, like, let's get our shit together. Let's remember like how good we can be. Let's remember what this is all about. Right. But so we hear that, but then this stuff continues, whether it's with Sammy and Kingston, Sammy and this with Andrade. It kind of feels like that some of the veteran, you got guys like Christian there. You got guys like Billy Gunn there. You got guys like Mark. You have a lot of veterans there. It kind of feels like some of them are like, you know what? If these damn kids aren't going to listen, I'm not going to follow them around and scream. That's what it kind of feels like from a way outside aspect looking in. And I also wonder, Jericho's very close with Sammy. And to the point, Sammy doesn't get sent home. Andrade does. Does Jericho have an influence in this? And then does he have a...
And also to your point, we talked about this with CM Punk, and I feel like we have to give this the same energy. CM Punk being the common denominator in certain issues. It's not the first time that we hear about Sammy Guevara having issues backstage. Now, I'm not saying Andrade is not guilty here, but what I'm saying is like we literally just heard about Sammy Guevara having an issue backstage. And you know who got suspended? Eddie Kingston. There was no disciplinary action taken against Sammy Guevara. He was still an All Out, right? So I'm just saying.
All right, let's get to some super chats. So Dylan threw a little bit of money there. I think Dylan hit the money before he put his comment. I think his comment followed right after, which was kind of what Issa said. Those nudes Sammy had with Tony Khan must be juicy.
Shout out to Dylan.
Yeah.
So
no thanks. Don't want to see him.
Same.
Yeah, I know it's National Scissoring Day, but let's just calm down.
Yeah.
Stellar Justin Lopez. He's ready and rearing to go. He said, did Tony not see the tweets? He should have approached the two when they arrived and scheduled a face-to-face meeting to hash it out. It's that simple. WTF is he doing? Let's go, Yankees. Yeah, I mean, you need to get him in the room to get. Well, then again, maybe it's this. Well, the one part you need to settle you need to not have a fight break out. But if Tony, prior to this match that was going to happen with the whole Andrade leaves AEW, if Tony truly does know, okay, Andrade's out of here in a week, he's gone. Okay, maybe you don't need to sit and have kumbaya and make these two become best friends. But at the very least, if you only got to have him here for one more week, keep them the F apart.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, it's that old cliche. The inmates are running the asylum, and that's what it feels like here with what's been going on recently and what we're hearing coming out from backstage. So, like I said, Tony needs to sit down, be a hard ass, and say, "Listen, I respect you guys. I want this company to do well, but we can't continue down this same path." And there will be repercussions if people go to step too far on whether it's social media or whatever.
There will be repercussions if you're not one of Tony's favorites, but okay.
That too.
Yeah. All right. So real quick before we get into Dynamite, this is one I'll give this one to Issa. Zook Enigma saying, "Did you guys see Logan Paul taking shots at Bad Bunny?"
Oh, did I see it? Yes, I saw it. But this is a very, very complicated topic. It's about tax laws in Puerto Rico. I saw the person that created the report did a good job with the thumbnail and clickbaiting because he made it sound like Logan Paul was just taking a lot of shots at Bad Bunny. And he kind of did. However, Bad Bunny cannot, I don't know if you guys know this, but if you move to Puerto Rico and you're a foreigner, you don't have to pay federal taxes, right? So a lot of rich people, such as Logan Paul, are moving to Puerto Rico to take advantage of this law, right? However, Logan Paul has been doing a lot of things for Puerto Rico, unadvertised. He's not giving it any press or anything. He's going on to help the island in any way that he can, and he's not getting any press about it. So Bad Bunny is made out a documentary in his last music video talking about all these people that are coming in here and doing this. And Logan Paul accused Bad Bunny of taking advantage of that exact same tax exception. Bad Bunny doesn't qualify for that. It's only for foreigners that move here. Bad Bunny has been a citizen of the island his entire life. He qualifies for a different kind of tax exception, but not the same one that Logan Paul is taking advantage of. So while I really enjoyed the interview and Logan Paul defending himself and kind of finally talking about the things that he's been doing, because I've seen it. I've seen a lot of the things that he's done for the island, and he's doing it without press or pageantry because he's doing it for just because he wants to. At the same time, I did feel he should have gone into this interview a little more educated on the tax laws because Bad Bunny doesn't qualify for the huge break that he's getting on taxes right now. Logan Paul, that is. That's all.
Interesting. I did not know any of that, so that was an education.
No.
I mean, but like just I guess playing just weird devil's advocate here to Logan Paul, like to the things you're saying. Does the break that he's getting of not paying this much of tax, is he putting that much back into the community, into the island, as you're saying?
So that's what he asked in the interview today, because it's on Philip DeFranco, that's a huge YouTuber who does news reports excellently, by the way, way better than your normal news channels. And he was asking Philip DeFranco, and he asked for feedback in the comments. He's like, how much do people want me to say? Do they want me to put a money amount into this? Because he's like, Logan Paul has renewed about 10 boxing gyms in Puerto Rico right now. Him and his brother have put over $125,000 in renewing boxing gyms, because that's why they came here. It was originally to train for boxing, and they ended up staying. On top of that, I saw pictures of him going out, like giving people aids in regards to what happened with the hurricane, and he had no cameras with him, none on his blog, nobody. The pictures were captured by locals that lived in the neighborhood that saw him doing this. A lot of the things that Logan Paul is doing for the island, he doesn't want to get credit for it because he's doing it to help back, because he's aware of the huge break that he's getting and the money that he's saving. So what he asked in this interview today was, how much money do you guys want me to put back? Do you want to see like a monetized amount, or what do you want me to do? Because I personally do think that he's trying, but I just don't think he gets the press about it, because he's not doing it about that. He's doing it on his own time, and it's great. But don't go and say the Bad Bunny takes advantage of the same tax break when it doesn't qualify. This is public information. You can look up there's actually 3,000 people that are taking advantage of this tax break, and you can look up all of the names online. It's available. Benito Martinez, that's Bad Bunny's name. It's not on that list, Logan Paul. Okay, let's settle this at WrestleMania.
Hey,
that's not out of the question.
Yeah, I kind of like that idea now.
They both have had WrestleMania matches that did pretty well, so it's not out of the question that it can happen.
It's gonna be a tax exemption on a pole match.
There you go.
No, ladder match. Put it in a briefcase. Ladder match.
And you can have special guest referee JBL, who was living in Bermuda.
That's right.
To take advantage of the tax situation. So there you go.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff.
Well, I'm glad to educate some people here.
Did not think we would talk and learn about Puerto Rican tax law on this one tonight, but here we are.
But at the same time, I'm not gonna like shit talk Logan Paul. I think Logan Paul is doing a lot for Puerto Rico, and I think for people to know what he's doing, you have to be a local. You have to be here to see it, because he's not advertising it. Nobody knows, but those of us who live here, we know.
Not chasing the hug, as they say. That's awesome.
Correct. Like my cousin is a big boxer here, and the Paul brothers went in there and they renewed that entire boxing gym, and it looks like a prime freaking establishment now, and it was awesome, and they weren't asked to do this. So
all right, good stuff. All right, back real quick before we get into Dynamite. One more super chat on Tony Khan. John Jordan saying, how did Tony Twitter fingers not know about a Twitter beef with recent issues? Not to be proactive is embarrassing. Issa, how about a Subway Series? John's a Mets fan.
I would love a Subway Series, but it's going to be a replay of the 2000 series. I'm sorry, but that's what's going to happen. So if you want to suffer like that, John Jordan, let's go.
Let's go, she said. Let's go. Let's get into Dynamite. 3-year anniversary is where it all started 3 years ago in DC. We kick it off with MJF. It's his first match in 129 days up against Wheeler Yuta. Very split crowd. Very split 50-50 crowd back and forth and support. The work in Yuta's arm and bicep and shoulder. Ultimately, though, MJF is going to use that to get the win. He's going to do like a rolling arm breaker. And then after the match, it looks like there might be this attempt of having a little handshake, show of respect. And just as MJF looked like he's going to do that, all of a sudden Lee Moriarty and Stokely Hathaway out there, they attack Yuta, and MJF is screaming, "I didn't tell you to do that. I didn't tell you to do that." Then Hathaway gives the Dynamite Diamond ring to MJF, wanting him to use it. And while MJF might be contemplating doing that, here comes William Regal, a little mentor to Wheeler Yuta with the brass knucks.
Yeah.
And MJF backs off. So a lot to take in here. Again, MJF's first full match back, split crowd. Jimmy, are we? And then the tease of the handshake.
Yes.
Are we moving towards the acceptance of MJF's probably not going to change his promo style, but we're going to position him as a babyface on the roster?
It almost felt like the way at the end of that match with him screaming at the guys for jumping Yuta at the end and being hesitant when he put on the diamond ring and almost like questioning himself, should I or shouldn't I? And then when Regal coming out, just taking the higher road and leaving, it certainly has planted that seed that maybe MJF is going to be that babyface with the nasty mouth, so to speak, because he can definitely talk a great game as a heel, and I do not have any doubt that he can continue that style and turn it into a babyface type of promo, still kind of down talking his opponents who are heels.
Issa, would you buy a babyface MJF?
I'll buy any MJF I can get. I love MJF. I thought this match was incredible. I like that tease at the end. I feel like MJF is such a good character-wise that we overlook his wrestling, and he's very, very good in the ring. That match that he had against Darby, I think it was a Full Gear, if I'm not mistaken. It was so good, and I thought he did the same today with somebody like Wheeler Yuta, who's so good in the ring. I want to give a shout out to Jimmy Korderas, who has made me watch wrestling completely differently, because I noticed a spot where they're just rolling and pinning each other, and I liked it. But then we saw it on the following match. We saw it between Darby and Jay Lethal, and I was like, "Why are you doing that?" And then I was like, "Why?" I feel like Jimmy was here watching Dynamite with me at that moment.
Oh, and then Jay and Darby also have a handshake at the end.
Yeah, repetition. Yeah,
and shout out to Ethan in the chat who mentioned that in my house. This is my house now. Promos now is everybody's house.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, I like what they're doing. I think MJF. You could position him as a baby on the babyface side of the fence, meaning he's just going against heels. But he can't really change his promo style. It's almost like he can come out and shit talk the city, and the city's almost just going to kind of be happy that he's just
mentioning him.
Yeah, doing his shtick to them. That's kind of where I feel like we would be going with, which I think that is having a good finger on the pulse of the MJF situation. There's no point in trying to get all these people to really, really hate him when he truly has become he's kind of become, ironically, what CM Punk was doing in 2011. He's just become just that rebel to the establishment out there saying, I'm going to sign with whoever pays me the most in 2 years. Wheeler Yuta, he's a good wrestler. That can't be denied. This was a win by association. I thought he looked good because he's out there with a guy like MJF who has such polarizing, but I still don't know if you show me Wheeler Yuta, besides him being a good beltable performer, I don't know what about him is going to talk me into a build.
No, he doesn't have that. It doesn't draw you in. Like you said, there's nothing wrong with his in-ring abilities. He's good in the ring. It's just that you need a lot more. You need character. You need personality. And MJF, a perfect example of a guy who doesn't have to do a lot in the ring and still get you invested in what he does. Wheeler Yuta, as good as he is in the ring, just there's something about him that doesn't draw me in.
Yeah, but he shouldn't be MJF's first feud or wrestle back after his long gone time. It just doesn't feel right. And trying to put him in a microphone battle, somebody that right now lacks charisma, in Wheeler Yuta against MJF, that's like throwing him with the sharks. It's almost borderline abusive.
Well, and the other question, too, I have about all of this, because of it, is we just established the Firm as this thing that MJF has on retainer, and he's now already telling them to get away. Is this a case of where a few weeks ago we thought, okay, we're going to keep MJF a heel, so he needs to have this gang on retainer to do his dirty work, but now we're going to pivot. He's going to be a face, so we got to break him away for it. And why are they the firm if we only see pieces of them at a time? We don't even see all of them together anymore. I mean, like just another like kind of like fly by night question. I'm like, do we have a plan for this? Why we have these people that we need to have?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. Like you said, it looks like they are definitely positioning him as a baby face, as in this is the side of the ledger he's going to be on, basically, without changing his style. And to the point about down talking the city, you know what, I can win even in a place like Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Yeah.
See, because when you name a Canadian city, you have to do the name of the city, the province. And the country, and the country as well, like Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yep. Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Canada.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that. See, we're all educating each other today.
All right, moving on. Jay Lethal versus Darby Allin. In some ways, they just again a carbon copy to what we just saw. This is
literally.
This is, of course, making a big deal of, is Jay Lethal going to show some honor at the end of this? Satnam Singh and Sanjay Dutt are out there distracted. He wants them to go away. So just like MJF and the firm can't get along, these guys all of a sudden newly formed, honeymoon period's over.
Yeah,
can't make it work. And he's telling them to get away. They don't get away. That distracts them. And then Lethal ends up getting the win. Darby ends up getting the win on Lethal with a roll up here. Then again, we tease handshake. Handshake actually happens here. Issa.
I thought this was a fun match. If I have to give credit where it's due, I like that we do get some kind of variation from Darby. Like sometimes he comes out with Sting, sometimes he doesn't. He doesn't need him. Like we know Sting is part of the pack. It's a package deal, but he's not always there. As to with other AEW factions, they always have to be there at ringside or whatever. But yeah, I like the match. I thought it was solid, but again, it bothered me that they were doing a lot of the same thing that we literally just saw minutes before. But I do not want to take away from seeing Jay Lethal and Darby Allin have a really good wrestling match.
Jimmy, you a fan of this?
No, they had a pretty good match, but it almost feels like a wrestling match isn't why people tune in to see Darby Allin. They want to see something different from him. And yes, he had they did have a good match, but again, that's probably a lot to do with Jay.
Jimmy, we can't be killing him every time he goes out there. We gotta give him a break here and there.
Jimmy wants to book Darby like Kenny on South Park.
Almost pretty much, yeah. But no, I didn't mind it. But like you said earlier, in this match, they did the 40 false finish reversals like simultaneously, like they did in the first match, and it almost feels like there's no communication in the matches from one match to the other. Nobody talks to each other. Are the agents talking to each other? Are they saying, "Are you guys doing this in this match?" You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, I was entertained by the match. I enjoyed the match. It just, again.
Yeah, but especially when it's like four talented individuals like MJF, Wheeler Yuta, Darby Allin, and Jay Lethal, they should all be able to come up with 2 full wrestling matches where non-repetitive things happen. They can do that if they just talk to each other.
Yep.
Well, if you're busy breaking up fights backstage, maybe that just kind of distracts everybody. I don't know.
I guess, yeah.
I don't know if this is a reference to this match, but
no, but he's talking about the Andrade punch because some people were reporting that Andrade might have thrown a punch, but they weren't sure if he connected.
So Jiro J saying, not sure if a pro wrestler's punch landed. LOL.
Listen,
I get it.
I like to picture my Andrade as the kind of person that would have landed that punch. But you never know. It's wrestling.
Right.
You never know.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get a shoot interview one day and we'll get to the bottom of whatever.
Oh, Andrade is never afraid to speak his mind, and that's one thing I love.
Actually, what's going to happen is his father-in-law is just going to go off and randomly.
About him.
What's going to happen is one day Ric Flair is going to just spout out everything.
Sure.
We'll find out soon enough.
Yeah.
Somebody catch Rick at the bar.
Yeah,
We'll get to the bottom of this in one viral video.
In between woos.
Woo! In between woos and shots.
And shots.
Yeah. All right. So Wardlow, your TNT champion, he puts out an open challenge, and it's going to be answered by Brian Cage, who is part of this Ring of Honor stable. Prince Nana
Say
has
it, LaBar. Say it.
what?
Say it. Big meaty man slapping meat.
Oh, this was two 12-ounce sirloins here. This was
16.
16.
Oh.
This was meaty. We got Wardlow. It's only his 5th title defense, which we'll get to that in a second. 5th title defense as TNT champion. He's got 15 straight wins. So Wardlow versus Brian Cage. Prince Nana out there. Power versus power here. A longer match. It goes to picture in picture. Wardlow brings the people to his feet, people to the feet, doing the running Hurricane Rana. Ultimately, though, Brian Cage does some showings of power as well, but ultimately the right thing happens, which is a powerbomb symphony, 4 power bombs by Wardlow. Again, just putting the straps down. It's like Jerry Lawler in Memphis. He puts the straps down and people come rising. Do they do for Wardlow? And Wardlow's going to get the win after the fact, though. The Gates of Agony, also part of Prince Nana's group, start attacking Wardlow. Here comes Samoa Joe. He tries to even it up. It's not yet even. Here comes FTR. We'll talk about Wardlow bigger picture in a second. Just in this match as it is, Jimmy, Wardlow does the open challenge. This gets answered so they can promote it leading into this. Did you like the execution?
It was okay. The whole thing, though, is that, the problem I had with the match is there's some guys who can do a lot of good stuff, but you have these 2 big behemoths doing high spots that guys like Darby Allin and those guys should be doing. You know what I mean? It almost felt like, why are the big guys not having a classic big man match as opposed to, they did for part of the match, but then all of a sudden they break out this, jumping to the top rope, per Karana, whatever, flipping 450, twisting, burning hammer Phoenix splash. You know what I mean? It wasn't necessary. They could have had, anyways. Other than that, I wish that Wardlow was not TNT champion and was positioned in a different light, that he'd be heading towards the main championship, because I think he's a guy that you can really build that title. And this is no disrespect to John Moxley, definitely. But here's a guy who is a big star in the making, and you can build this company around, who is for lack of a better term, an AEW homegrown guy. He's not an ex-WWE guy.
Yeah, I mean, Issa, I bitched about this on Twitter leading into All Out. Wardlow was just one of the hottest things they had. Again, like Jimmy said, homegrown at the start of the summer, and you're putting him in a 6-man tag match. And then here again, we're putting him in a 4-on-4 situation of even the odds. Like, this is not rocket science. The people are behind him. Just run with that momentum. Give him a singles match every week.
Yes, agreed. I think Wardlow's a star. He just has that it factor. The crowd loves him, and he's doing some of the things that, while I see what Jimmy's doing, I thought that they did a really good job at balancing the things that you weren't expecting these 2 big guys to do and the big man match, because we did see a little bit of that. Some of those headbutts that were being thrown were insane. We saw Wardlow going to powerhouse, like symphony mode. Like, I really, really enjoyed this match. Might have been my favorite thing on the night, but then again, I'm biased. However, it was good to see Brian Cage back on TV. I was wondering for a second, what did he do to earn a title shot? Like, you can't bring somebody that we haven't seen in like a year on TV and put them in a title shot. Like, it doesn't seem to make sense. But once the match got going, I didn't care anymore. I was like, why is this guy not on TV every week? That's what I was wondering. And that means that you did your job out there. And at the same time, you made Wardlow look great. I would like to see Wardlow go towards the World Championship, but right now I just want him to go back to that momentum that he had going into Double or Nothing when he beat MJF. That should have been such a huge moment for him, and it didn't feel that way because of the backstage drama. They just have to put a stop to that, because a lot of their big moments are just being so overshadowed by just backstage BS. But yeah, they were busting out some moves that I was not expecting from them. I really enjoyed this match.
Well, and that's the thing.
Didn't need all the running out from people at the end. Like, we just saw it twice before. Like, I didn't need any of that though.
Well, and yeah, I mean, like, eventually, Wardlow and MJF are your 2 homegrown guys, and they arguably have the 2 just, they obviously have such history with each other. They have these 2 paths that you could really make something and we could revisit. So hopefully they do. Yeah, to your point, a little weird here, right? Brian Cage's been off TV forever. Okay. So then he comes back. They did give us a little quick promo video to try to give us context of Prince Nana, and then the commentary's talking about how he's been with ROH since 2004, and his group, the embassy, I think it is, and all, whatever. So they're trying to give you context. But it is kind of odd that Brian Cage has been off TV from AEW for so long. Now all of a sudden he's in this thing, so we got to like wave this shiny ROH thing. And then you have Taz on commentary, and Taz is the one who brought Brian Cage to AEW as part of Team Taz, and you have Taz on there. Like it's just like it's a very messy kind of like, again, fly by night kind of feel. So I don't know, but that was kind of my thing. I was just like, this is all kind of, again, this will be a running theme. We'll get to it again. This is AEW's Dynamite's 3-year anniversary, and there was so much ROH in this. Why?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, I understand that you want to promote the ROH brand, but at the same time, you're overshadowing it and you're making it seem like a major priority over your own brand.
Z1 super chat. Where is Miro?
Good question.
No.
Somebody tagged me in something on Twitter the other day. I'm sorry, I don't know who you are. They showed a clip of Miro being promoted or whatever, or a clip of him in like some kind of TV show or movie or something. I think it was a TV show. So they said this is why Miro hasn't been on Dynamite. So maybe that's true. I don't know, but
then
does
he
have.
came back. The original time off that he took was to go film this TV show, or unless he's taking time off to promote it, because as you know, once you film a movie, you also have to take time off to promote it when it's ready to come out. But I do remember the taping of this TV show that he was a part of being done with, and then we saw him come back. And now, according to Miro's, pardon my language, but just nobody has the balls to face it. That's at least the story that he's trying to tell on Twitter. So
yeah. I'm a big, ever since I got away from the whole gamer thing and the best man thing, I've been a big fan of the Miro in AEW.
Me too. Still my favorite TNT champion. I think Wardlow is up there. They just need to put him on more significant feuds, but I still think Miro had the best TNT champion reign.
Well, I love the Redeemer stuff and your God and all. Whatever. He was feuding with like Malachi and Buddy and all those guys, and they're all gone. So maybe they just had to hit a reset on that. All right, it is the start of the second hour. That means the women are going to get a match.
Ooh.
They're going to get the kickoff, the start of the second hour. Unique placement for what is normally the 9:30 pegged spot. Is this a little result of Saraya? And we feeling like she has star power to go out there and kick off second hour? I don't know. It kicks off actually with Britt Baker backstage doing a quick promo. Basically, her sources, her doctors telling her that Saraya's not gonna be able to fight in AEW, not gonna be able to wrestle. So they just put her in some packing peanuts, send her home. Then we get to the match here, which is we got Penelope Ford, Serena Deeb, and Jamie Hayter alongside Britt and Rebel up against Willow Nightingale, Athena, Toni Storm with Saraya in their corner. Let's just cut to the chase. Willow Nightingale gets the pin using a gut wrench powerbomb. The entire match, the entire 6-woman match, was just a reason to get Britt and Saraya in the same place at the same time, because that's the story. Is post-match, they come to blows. It's the first physicality we've seen of Saraya / Paige in years. And then Saraya, after doing hockey fight with Britt, she then gives a little kick to Rebel. So, Jimmy, it would seem the story is here. They're kind of leaning into some of the internet questions, and myself included in those questions of, wow, this is a big investment. It's a big deal to have Saraya. But is she clear to wrestle? Can she contribute in that fashion? This seems like they're leaning into that, and that they have an ace up their sleeve, which is, yes, she is going to wrestle.
Yeah, I would say that she is going to wrestle, because if you're not cleared to wrestle, then you're definitely not cleared to have physicality, especially to the extent that we saw it from Saraya tonight. I think they did a good job of getting to that spot, but it just took too long, and I didn't think that a trios match, is that what they call it? The trios match was necessary to get to that spot. They could have done that with a promo segment and it not take as much time. It just felt like it took a lot of time to set up that one thing that they were actually going for to set up.
Issa, one word answer, and then I'll ask you a follow-up question. Is Saraya versus Dr. Britt Baker the biggest women's match they could do right now?
Yes.
Okay. Follow-up question. Is that okay, considering you have Toni Storm with the strap and Jade Cargill with a strap, and both seem to be far less important right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Tony Storm hasn't felt important. It is still an interim strap, and they have AEW does a great job of making you feel that the interim title is interim. They haven't given us any sort of update with Thunder Rosa, which is okay. They also didn't do that with CM Punk. We didn't know when to expect CM Punk back. With Jade, I just expect her to just continue just rambling to people and making her streak bigger. So yes, I have no issue with them creating an actual feud out of non-title being involved. They haven't managed to do that, and they're doing that here. I like the placement of this. I like the match. I actually thought the match was great. And guess what? The booking made sense. Willow Nightingale gets the pin. I'm sitting here thinking, why did she get the pin? Then she calls out Jade, which we'll get into. I didn't really like her promo so much, but it makes sense that she goes with the confidence to call out Jade because she just got the win. And just seeing the way that Saraya played out the rumors that she's not clear, is she clear? When she actually got physical, it felt like a moment. Yeah. No matter what they do moving forward, whether she wrestle, whether they put him in a tag match to protect her or not, just seeing her get physical after so long. The last memory we have of her is that horrible accident that happened at the house show, that video going viral. We all saw it. She couldn't move. I don't want that to be the last memory that I have of her in a ring. So just seeing her here, it just felt like a big moment for people that I'm a big fan of hers, and it felt awesome. So I loved everything that they did here. I'm not saying the women's division is great, but it's the first time that I turn around and I go, that wasn't so bad. And that's not the vibes that I have every week following a women's segment. So props to them, and maybe she is bringing some change. Love seeing her get physical. I just want her to be clear and okay to do this. At the same time, if she is, let her go for it. We also need to stop protecting her like she's so fragile. They're not going to let her go out there and do something she's not supposed to do. I hope.
Yeah. All right, very good. Yeah, it's I mean, you're right. It is exciting to have an interesting feud that is not title based. So
especially with Britt Baker, their promos back and forth. I know that Saraya was a little bit rusty last week. I know that my power went out and I couldn't talk to you guys about how much I didn't like that women's segment last week. I get it. She hasn't been here in a while, but I think Britt Baker in a polished Saraya on the mic back and forwards for a little bit. Oof, sign me up. Because we already saw a preview of it. I did think that Britt Baker did better last week, for what it's worth. I did think Britt Baker owned her last week. But I'm looking forward to their back and forth.
Yeah, I agree with you, Issa, and I agree mostly with the point of as long as she's cleared and she's taking care of herself, that's the most important thing.
Fair enough. All right, we'll see. And Issa mentioned Thunder Rosa. I've been on Busted Open the last few Fridays here with Thunder Rosa, and she is chomping at the bit to get back. She's waiting to be cleared.
I watched her vlogs, and I saw that she went and got one of those epidural shots in her back, which made me a little bit worried because that does mean she must be in a lot of pain or suffering through something pretty rough to get that procedure done. But at the same time, it makes me feel like at least she's trying to get what needs to be done to come back. I'm looking forward to seeing her come back.
Right.
All right, up next, maybe the highlight of the night. It's time to celebrate National Scissor Day.
Scissor me, Justin LaBar. Come on.
There we go.
You don't do the triple?
Triple scissor. Let's go.
There we go. There we go. All right, we got the Acclaimed. They come out. Of course, Max Caster got the rap going. He says AEW, it's Acclaimed every Wednesday. Daddy Ass has gifted them with the golden scissors that he got from City Hall. Max Caster then cuts a kind of a nice little personal promo talking about they're there in DC. Talks about his father some 40 years ago being part of Super Bowl 17 with the Washington Redskins, my team, which is true. His father.
I thought about you when this happened. His
father, Rich Caster, was a receiver and was part of the Super Bowl team. So he talks about that and how his dad proudly wears the Super Bowl ring to this day. So nice little touch there. Then they're interrupted by Swerve. Swerve kind of cuts a promo saying that the only reason that the Acclaim had the titles is because of Daddy Ass, Billy Gunn. And then here comes Smart Mark Sterling. He's going to get taken down in the feel-good spot. And ultimately, Gunn is going to answer Swerve's challenge. So next week, we are going to get Swerve Strickland up against Billy Gunn. Issa, did this live up to all the scissoring hype?
Yes, I love this segment. It was so wholesome. Everybody loves the Acclaim. Like, it's an actual fact. How can you hate the Acclaim? Now I gotta tell you, I'm disappointed that you didn't bring up Swerve's line against when he said Rock always beats Scissors. Yo, I popped. I popped when he said that. But overall, I mean, maybe a little too long, but at the same time, I feel like we waited so long to see the Acclaim in this position that give them all the time that they want to take. Really love the promo by Max Caster. Overall, really wholesome. Love this segment.
Jimmy?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. They got the audience invested. They had me invested. They're entertaining, and that's the biggest thing. Not only can they go in the ring, they can go on the mic, and they get people talking. And you heard the pop, especially tonight, because maybe it was just my television. I don't know, but the crowd didn't seem as lively as they do most Wednesday nights. They did come up at times, but when the Acclaim came out, they were into it. You could see people standing.
Yeah, this was fun. This is a lot of fun. I said it before. The Acclaim, they just had that magic formula. They figured it out. It's to get the people involved, make them feel like there's something. And again, they even alluded to it in the promo where they're saying in a city of DC where it's red and blue and such division, and we are here to bring everybody together. And you're watching they're telling people to do the peace be with you to scissor to the person to your right.
Oh my God, I popped for that too.
And the crowd's showing shots of people, just random strangers. They're all doing it. They're all in that moment together. I mean, that's a hell of a thing that the Acclaimed is doing.
I love what the Acclaim is doing. I have a friend that I didn't even realize watch wrestling on my Instagram, and I posted my picture scissoring Britt Baker because we have to celebrate, right? And he responds, and he's like, everybody loves the Acclaim. And I'm like, I didn't even know you watch wrestling. He's like, no, I just like the Acclaim. And I'm like, okay, I always keep that in the back of my brain. Like, who the casuals, right? What we call the casuals. Who are they gravitating towards? That was fun to see somebody that I have no clue would even be familiar with what I'm talking about, knew exactly what it was.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to Billy Gunn, too, if you caught it. Did a little rockabilly move.
Yes.
If you know your Billy Gunn history.
There you
go. So this is a lot of fun. And I will, by the way, a little cheap plug, I will tweet on Monday as we have the Raw season premiere in Brooklyn. And, of course, DX. I think it's fair to say we're not going to see Daddy Ass. I have my bingo card ready of,
you have it?
Of one-liners that we might get from DX. So stay tuned to my Twitter at Justin LaBar. I have my bingo card, and I will let all of you contribute to the bingo card. I got some spots to fill out, and we will play DX one-liner bingo next Monday night.
Oh, this is gonna be good.
Cool. Now I'm looking forward to it even more.
Yes.
See, you're talking me into Twitter.
There we go. There we go. Another cheap plug. The three of us will be back Saturday night after Extreme Rules.
There you go. Perfect.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to Extreme Rules. I
am too.
Yeah.
I was actually trying to go back. I was Googling Extreme Rules in the past, the most extreme night in WWE. And I was like, this might be the Extreme Rules I'm looking forward to the most.
It's actually feel like Extreme Rules. I'm excited for it.
Absolutely.
That's Saturday. AEW people will get pissed off if we detour too much. All right. Rouge versus Hangman Page. Buckshot Lariat's going to get the victory here for Hangman Page. Sorry, Rouge fans. I'm not going any deeper on this. Story here is Private Party come out afterwards trying to circle the ring. Moxley comes out. He kind of evens the odds. Private Party backs off, but then Moxley gets on the mic. He says, I've been waiting this for 3 years. Been waiting for 3 years. I knew eventually it was going to happen. While he notes the respect he has for Hangman Page, he says once it comes time for that bell to ring and the title's on the line, he doesn't respect a GD thing. Says he will break his face and choke him until he's blue. Says that this is going to be the battle that between he and Page, whoever stands tall will be the last top true guy. Page then says, well, you waited so long. Where are you going? As Moxley looks like he's leaving.
Yeah.
Then Moxley gets in his face. They start to try to bleep a little bit. I don't know if this was a little bit of unplanned or if this is for effect, but Moxley, if you could decipher, basically said, you're a sweet kid. I'm going to give you a little bit more time until your ass whooping comes. Just like a lot of the other young kids around here, you say shit that's going to get you in trouble.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
yeah. Yeah,
Jimmy?
No, the match was all right, except for the blatant interference that the referee saw that should have caused a DQ. But never mind. Here we go again. I can't take off the black and white stripes. It's just ingrained in me. And again, I'll have more on the refereeing later. But anyways, no, the match was fine, but it was basically to set up what came afterwards. And you know what? The way they talked about it, the way Mox did his promo and stuff, I actually am looking forward to Hangman versus Moxley and see how that turns out.
Issa,
And also the little shots of someone holding the chip. You know,
MJF.
And they did specify that he can cash that chip in at any time. So I'm assuming that it can happen right after a match. It doesn't have to go through the whole sanctioning process.
Hey,
Imagine
Issa.
in Cincinnati. Oof. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Issa, so Moxley was Hangman Page had the full support of the crowd. Moxley, I don't want to say he was full on booed, but he was not the fan favorite in tonight in DC. How does that sit with you? Is that cool with you?
Yeah, I mean, isn't DC fairly close to Richmond, to those areas where Hangman Page hails from? So I would assume that he will have this crowd maybe a little bit more in his favor than Moxley would. Also, I mean, I don't know, because you're not expecting to see Moxley, so maybe you expected a bigger pop for Mox. That being said, I can't believe this is a first-time match. I mean, we still have a lot of those, excuse me, to go in AEW. But it blew my mind when Moxley started talking about how long he's waited for this. I was like, holy crap, that's true. We haven't seen these two face each other in AEW, which made me fully invested in the match. That being said, I feel bad for Rouge. I don't know what they're going to do with Bandito. I mean, the Latin America, the Hispanic community is so big, and I feel like you just have this roster where you can do so much to attract those viewers. And you're just bringing in those guys. You had Andrade, who knows? Like, I just personally think that AEW really has something special and could have capitalized on that. They're kind of like working with AAA and all of these really talented Spanish guys that you're bringing in. You're just bringing them into job, and that bothers me a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, Hangman Page did have his family there sitting in front row. To be fair, they were in DC. Page is from the sticks of Virginia. He's more Southern Virginia, Southern West Virginia.
Well, they called Richmond when they were in Richmond. Didn't they make that like his home?
That was the closest, because he's from. I actually, when I went to Myrtle Beach this past summer, we drove down through West Virginia, drove through Southern Virginia. He's the sticks of Southern Virginia, but I guess he had family there, and I don't know where his family spreads. And whatever, I don't know, but he's clearly is the more. Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie here. I also think there's a little bit of hangover of there's some extra Hangman Page has always been over. He's been pretty over his entire time in the company. I think CM Punk kind of victimizing him a little bit on the microphone is, in a weird way, is help Page too.
1,000%.
You know?
1,000%. Yes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that has to do with people. That core audience is almost viewing Punk in a different light now.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Luchasaurus. Well, we're going to run 15 extra minutes, so they have time to do a Luchasaurus squash match. Luchasaurus out there squashes Fuego del Sol. The entrance music was longer than the match itself. After the fact, Jungle Boy comes out and attacks with a chair, cuts a little heartfelt promo. So it's crazy to think that Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, this is still going on. I feel like this has been going on. And Christian's in a sling. Christian's talking about next week in Toronto. Of course, Jimmy's not going to be there to referee this. Luchasaurus Jungle Boy, this continues to go on and on. Jimmy, are you ready for a payoff?
Yeah, I'm waiting for this rivalry to end. Again, you want to get the viewer invested. You want to get the paying public, so to speak, invested. Those who are paying, whether they're paying for a live ticket or paying with their time to watch on television. You want to get them invested. And as much as they're trying here, Christian is trying hard. Jungle Boy is even trying hard, but I'm just not that invested. I want this to end rather than,
well, and I feel like
whatever way it does.
I feel like it kind of missed its window, because when the split happened, it was a big deal. I mean, Christian was cutting some crazy ass promos for several weeks, real personal promos that were oohing and on, and then I feel like the fire is cooled.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You know, I mean, Issa, I mean, where are you? I mean, I've kind of fallen off the investment here.
Yeah, I keep on forgetting that this is still going on, but at the same time, Jericho and Daniel Bryan and Daniel Garcia, that story has been going on just as long as this one.
Mhm.
With this one, we haven't seen a payoff because of Christian's injury. I'm a little bit over it. I thought that Jungle Boy did sound slightly more comfortable on the mic tonight than he usually does, but at the same time, I wasn't a big fan of the promo. But he looked to have more confidence out there today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we'll see where that's going to go. Where that's going to go.
Right.
Next week in Toronto. All right, main event time. Your Ring of Honor World Champion Chris Jericho out there with Sammy Guevara. Up against
Ring of Jericho. It's the Ring of Jericho.
Yes.
Up against your Ring of Honor Pure Champion, Daniel Garcia.
No.
I sound like the Howard Stern, WNBC. Your Ring of Honor Pure Champion, Daniel Garcia plus Bryan Danielson. This entire match builds to when we finally get Garcia and Jericho face to face. Again, hockey fight explodes. Another high spot here. Jericho's going to suplex Bryan Danielson through the timekeeper's table. Finally, Daniel Garcia has Sammy in the sharpshooter. Referee is not in a position to see Jericho hitting Garcia with the belt.
That was Jimmy's favorite spot.
And Guevara is going to get the pin here. Sammy Guevara, big heat. At one point, even there was briefly an El Idolo chant that broke out. A lot of you still suck, Sammy. So a lot of heat on Sammy, whether it's storyline or reality based. Sammy Guevara, the least popular person on Dynamite tonight. Jimmy, was the referee out of position to not see such shot?
Unfortunately, no. The referee did not position herself in the right. Look, the sharpshooter was happening, and you saw that they were moving closer and closer to the rope. So when you saw that happening, I kind of had the idea that something was going to happen there. But what the referee should have done was positioned herself exactly so she could be blinded by both participants. She was sideways. So it's almost like referees there don't have peripheral vision. Because
you're saying if the sharpshooter's applied onto Sammy, she needs to be nose to nose with Sammy, so that way Sammy's face and Garcia's back are blocking her.
Are blocking the view, and you don't see the belt shot. But she was to the side, and I could understand if it was done to the hard camera side where you don't want to block Sammy's face. But this was done to the side, so the positioning was all bad. And again, referee distraction spots just not working tonight, and which kind of hurt the finish for me.
Issa, are you impressed? That's your
No. You want to know why hurt the finish? Sammy getting the pin that hurt the finish. How do you not read the room? How do you I'm sorry, if you're not gonna send him home and hold him accountable for what happened earlier, the least you could do is not. Given if it just felt like a big whatever, and again, because it's not the first time that we hear that he gets in trouble, it just feels like a slap in the face, like it doesn't matter what Sammy does, he can get away with it. He does have some kind of, he must have that. Remember that box that Shane McMahon had on Vince McMahon? Sammy has it on Tony Khan at this point. That being said, yeah, it was a fun match. I saw Sammy trying to bust his butt out there, doing some fancy moves to get the crowd on his side, and he just wasn't working.
Can you imagine? I'm not only not going home, but I'm going over because this will get shown on or whatever.
Look what I have, buddy. God.
Exactly.
It just felt like if you were going to have Sammy get the pin, then you should have put this somewhere in the middle of the show and have something else main event at least. But for the show we start the show because that backstage drama came out fairly a little bit before the show went on the air. So once you get us to stop thinking about it, then we go into the main event and we see Sammy get the pin while Andrade gets sent home and his match gets canceled. It just didn't feel fair.
And I've heard Tony Khan say on interview, and this first thing I'm going to say is fair. I've heard Tony say on interviews since the All Out Brawl, where, how terrible the pandemic was. We're doing empty arena shows, stuck in Jacksonville, all the things that the pandemic was, and it was terrible for everybody, all of us on different levels. And so he kind of said, after you go through that drama, a little thing, it puts things in perspective, which I think is actually a very fair comment of, okay, you got some drama going on. We all know drama happens in the workplace, whatever. It is fair to say at least we have the business to operate on full scale to have such drama, and we're not handicapped and facing, you know, all the scares we did. Fair. But then then it bleeds into scary territory. We see the All Out brawl. We see Sammy with Kingston, Sammy with Andrade. And it's like, you know, it's almost like, you know, we know that Tony is he's an old school ECW mark. He loved the original ECW. I almost kind of feel like Tony's like, listen to this heat that Sammy's getting. I almost feel like Tony, again, kind of to East's point, not reading the room. No, this is beyond just like reveling in some, you know, really serious chance that the fans are going to give. Like, you got a guy here that's like, you know, first he got the heat, and we detoured from him being a babyface. He got the heat because he was engaged to fellow wrestler after he clearly was also engaged on your TV show, by the way, to another woman who's clearly not with. So there was kind of like a little bit of like Tony was trying to push him as a face, and then everybody wanted to shit on him. So we detoured. We went, okay, we're going to be a heel. Then we're getting backstage drama, and whatever, or no discipline's happening to Sammy, and then and people are continuing to do like these nasty Sammy chants or not liking him. I kind of feel like Tony's got like this ECW in him. He's like, this is great. This is, and I just wonder at what point do you kind of realize like
it's the wrong kind of heat.
Are you
1000%? Look at listen to the reaction coming out of Grand Slam when he came out with Ty Conti. That was that heat, that boo, this guy suck. The heat that Sammy was getting tonight was a whole different reaction than what he was getting shows prior to tonight.
Yeah.
So
this backstage news, they got to do a better job. This has got to stop leaking the way that it is. It's like it's everything in the product. It wasn't a bad show. I enjoyed it. There was a lot of tonight that I enjoyed. But again, this the finish. They always remember the finish, and you finish with Sammy getting the pin. Yeah.
First off, real quick, look at Sammy's timeline is pretty amazing. Sammy's timeline of gets engaged to his like high school sweetheart on TV on Dynamite. Obviously, it didn't work out, or he whatever happens. He's engaged to said wrestler, to said hottie. A blonde hottie on TV show, and then several backstage. I mean, like, what a timeline of just like unlikable. I mean, I don't know. I don't know the full story. Issa, to your point though, look at the stuff that's not dirt sheet leaked. Look at the stuff that's AEW showing their ass on their own accord. CM Punk hijacked the microphone in a press conference with his boss sitting next to him, who never even had the ability to shut him up, and Punk did that, and then which goes into the brawl, which happened. And then, you know, like I said, Andrade and Sammy's beef didn't get leaked by the dirt sheets. They decided to blast it on Twitter. So it's not like this is just you have a poor locker room who's leaking stuff. It's not like this is the Titanic hit by the iceberg. No, this is everybody just deciding to air their public grievances on Tony's time.
Right.
My favorite person in this entire feud was Ricky Starks with his tweet that said, "Can my coworkers just shut the F up?" Like that was my favorite thing in this whole thing.
Yeah, and where was Ricky Starks tonight?
Here's the problem too. I think Tony Khan is thinking, "Oh, here's some real life behind the scenes." Not from, I don't want to use the term rivalry because rivalry makes it sound like it's worked. Two guys who have an issue, a real life issue backstage. Maybe we can turn this into money by turning it into some sort of no. You know, when it gets this heated, you got to keep these guys apart.
Jimmy, it's funny you say that because I've heard that argument too. As we wrap it up here, so if anybody has any final super chats, please put them in now. It's funny you say that because over the years, I've talked to some, some of them guys from your era, Hall of Fame guys, and I've asked them kind of about that, and I brought different situations up. And it's like, well, what happens when there's like real heat between the two guys? Like, is that, and I know that Twitter wasn't around at some of these, some of the older generations, but I'm like, can in any way can that be spun into a positive of let's take two guys and let's kind of create some competition amongst them, make them go out and do business. And it's always been some variation of no, because you need to have two guys going through the curtain still with a level of trust that like this is all for the show. If you're trying to take their real life emotional issues and trying to then get them to, if you're trying to mind screw them, for lack of a better phrase, of, oh, this is just good to go out and sell tickets. It just doesn't sit well. It doesn't vibe. The locker room feels uneasy about it. And that's what I kind of feel is like here is like, oh, Sammy and Andrade don't like each other. Put it out there for Dynamite. That'll pop a great rating. And it's like, no, like what if they start shooting and mixed martial arts on each other out there,
Right.
and like and then it just sets the precedent to the locker room. Like, what's the work environment I'm in? If one of my coworkers goes public on Twitter that they don't like me, that my boss is going to try to pop a number and pop a rating by making me go out there and have to trust that person with my body, with also the risk that it's going to turn into a brawl for all.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's a different situation, and I've been there where guys have had an issue in the ring with each other where something got heated. They went through their match, they did their finish, and when they got to the back, right behind Gorilla, getting into it. I remember one in particular with two Hall of Famers. Let's put it. One is from Pittsburgh, and someone who had Latino heat, and it was incredible because like I was right there, and I'm like, what do I do? Because you know what I mean. You don't want to like, and thankfully Big Show was there because he could by himself. He just picked up both guys and kind of separated them, which was kind of cool. But again, they were professional enough out there in front of the camera to finish what they were sent out there to do. And yeah, you don't like to see them get into it backstage either, but at the same time, they did what they needed to do out there and did business before they let personal feelings get the better of them, which they did backstage.
Yeah.
Different times, I guess. Yeah. And again, thank goodness there was no Twitter back then.
Right.
Yes.
All right. Issa, final thoughts on the 3-year anniversary of Dynamite and all and Dynamite and all the drama that accompanies it.
First of all, it feels like AEW just launched, and then it also feels like it's been 100 years. I don't know how they have managed to do both at the same time, but when I'm looking at the 3-year anniversary, I'm like, it feels like it was just yesterday, but it also feels like we've been dealing with this for way too long. I thought it was a fun show. Maybe it didn't live up to expectation, but compared to the very first Dynamite 3 years ago, I thought this was superior. I'm tired of the AEW drama. I want to see some good news coming out of AEW, some people getting along, and you're celebrating an anniversary, and it just feels like everything's falling apart. I don't want this company to fall apart. I want all wrestling to do well, so I need them to get it together. But also, justice for Andrade.
Yeah.
Jimmy, 3 years in, where are you at?
I thought the show was fine tonight, especially the in-ring work. I thought the in-ring work was entertaining. It's just the repetition and every match other than the enhancement match that we got with later on in the night, everything going to a commercial during the match. Every match had a commercial break with picture-in-picture and stuff like that, and all the interviews that are done backstage, whether it was earlier in the day or not, having Tony interview someone and somebody comes and interrupts, having Tony interview someone, it's too repetitious. It's not fresh. You know what I mean?
Yeah. She Black did have a super chat earlier saying tipping. I don't know if he meant he was just tipping for the wonderful content we're giving, or
yes, thank you. I'll take it like that. That's how I'll take it.
We'll take it. We'll take
Me too.
We'll take it. All right, that's going to do it for tonight. Of course, again, Dynamite getting to go 2 hours and 15 minutes long. So we are a few minutes longer than we normally would be for those of you watching live. If you're watching live, if you're listening or watching on the archive, please tweet any or all of us. Let us know where in the world you are, Carmen Sandiego. How are you enjoying this podcast? What do you like best about it? Love doing that. The three of us will be back Saturday night. Extreme Rules. Are we going to get the White Rabbit reveal? A lot of questions. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's Saturday night, so I got a feeling that's going to get kind of crazy, so that'll be fun. All three of us.
Yeah.
Three. It's going to be great. Puerto Rico, Pittsburgh, and Toronto all together again. So make sure you bookmark and do whatever you got to do to make sure Saturday night you join us after that show. At NYC Demon Diva, at Jimmy Korderas, at Justin LaBar. Again, thank you very much for all the super chats. Thank you for the comments just in the free chat room. Like, subscribe, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. It all helps. It all helps it grow. I'll talk to all of you on Friday morning on Busted Open. I'll give my official Extreme Rules predictions. I'll be with these beautiful people Saturday, and then Jimmy and I will be back Monday. I'll give you my bingo card for the DX reunion. It's all